Sweet. Everybody that's in the same. Thank you everybody for coming out and watching this screening of The Ghost Cut. Obviously, this was made in, I believe, late 2020 during the pandemic when we got kind of slowed down. We made Never Hike in the Snow, we were supposed to make Never Hike Again. And obviously got stalled by the pandemic. So at the end, Never Hike Again is now Never Hike Alone 2, which is crowdfunding on Indiegogo right now. You'll have about till September 15th if you want to check out that Indiegogo to get your name in the credits of Never Hike Alone 2. So just want to put that out there right now. I do have copies of The Ghost Cut at the table for purchase if anybody wants to grab a copy of that. It's a very, what you just watched was basically all the work that me and my team have done since 2016, going up in the San Bernardino National Forest outside of Big Bear, putting these films together piece by piece, all through crowdfunding. Thousands of people from all over the world helped us raise about $450,000, $500,000 up until this point to make about 4 different films. So it's been a pretty fun ride. This was a culmination of about 4.5 years worth of work. The Disappeared music video was shot in 2019. Never Hike in the Snow was shot in 2020, and the last feature there, Never Hike Alone, was shot in 2016 and 2017, and it's been quite a ride ever since. Does anyone have any questions or anything they want to ask about the films?
Do you have a franchise like a favorite Jason that
Cool. Yeah, the question was, out of the franchise, do I have a favorite Jason in film? Cool. Friday the 13th Part 6 is my favorite. Friday the 13th, obviously bringing back Tom Matthews was a big upsell for me. Definitely a dream come true from that standpoint. As far as favorite Jason goes, I'd say it's a mix between C.J. Graham and Ted White. Also the underdog, and there would be Tom Morgan, who played Roy in Part 5, but also plays a very cool dream nightmare Jason, which appears in the Never Hike Alone series, or nightmare sort of fuel Jason appears. So I always thought that the Tom Morgan nightmare Jason was pretty scary as well.
What is your film for the Friday the 13th timeline?
So the way I kind of take it is, I'm a Friday the 13th fan that's been disappointed ever since New Line took over. So none of the New Line films count. So this is basically a direct sequel to Jason Takes Manhattan. The first film in this Disappear takes place around 2004. Depending on how you follow the original films, it takes you to about, I think, depending on how you judge it, it's either between 1998 and 2001 is when Jason Takes Manhattan technically would have happened. So this is a few years after Jason would have slinked his way back to Camp Crystal Lake, kind of gathered himself, put a new costume together, found a new mask, and started living a new assumed identity, similar to Friday the 13th Part 2, where he finds a place in the woods to camp out. He tries to keep people away, and he doesn't really interfere until people come into his territory and mess with him. So it's a little bit different from where Friday the 13th went, where Jason would wake up from a slumber, start murdering a bunch of people, somebody else would kill him, and the process would repeat over and over again. I wanted to go back to something that felt like there's a monster in the woods, and if you go into the woods alone, he will get you, type deal.
What would you say your favorite shot is out of all the movies you've done?
Shots in the film? Definitely the crane out of Mark's face. That, and on the same note, the transition from Diana looking at the picture of Mark on the computer and transitioning into his dead face in Jason's attic is one of my favorites. Jason sitting up and doing the moon transition is another favorite of mine. And then some very silly ones. In the beginning of Never Hike Alone, there's a shot that's the first sort of tilt up after Kyle drives under it in the blue Bronco, and it sort of just unveils like the mountains in the background. For some reason, that one is always a shot that stands out to me as one of my favorites, the way it works. The shot coming over the waterfall, revealing the lake, which is actually Emerald Bay in, what's the name of that lake? It's out in California. We used several different lakes as far as to kind of do that. Maybe another good one that I really, really enjoy. When Kyle walks into the main cabin for the first time and walks in front of the big fireplace with the light coming through. I mean, there's so many things working for us in that shot, and we knew when we first got up there. That room was the one that really inspired us to say, maybe we can make something a little bit more like this. And for those of you who don't know, we actually found that abandoned camp in the summer of 2016, built out the camp, built a lot of the props and set dressing that you saw in there, and went there week after week, sort of picking up different shots. But the feeling that you get in the film when he first walks into that main cabin is very much an echo of me and my team walking up there for the first time and walking in there and saying, wow, we really have something here. So definitely those are the ones that stand out to me.
What was the budget like for both of them?
Okay, budgets. Never Hike Alone was $50,000. We raised about $20,000 to $25,000 privately in the fall of 2016. A Kickstarter had fallen through, and we had an executive producer step forward, Barry J., who's the executive producer on Never Hike Alone. He was the one who put us in contact with Tom Matthews. We ended up coming back to crowdfunding in January of 2017, raising another $20,000 to complete the film and some more private funding through there. Never Hike in the Snow was about I'm trying to remember what the actual physical production cost was. I believe it was between about $100,000 and $110,000. A shorter film, but it was a much bigger budget because we were shooting in the snow. We had actual locations, multiple actors. We had to go through SAG. We had a bunch of stuff on that realm. Disappear maybe costs maybe $1,000. That was a real just a weekend effort. Me and my friends going out and shooting something for low cost to try and raise awareness about Never Hike in the Snow. And Never Hike Alone 2 is currently totaling up to about $270,000. Which will be released this Friday the 13th in October.
If you could direct any film from any other franchise that you would
I would love to direct a Toho Japanese Godzilla film, or I'd love to direct a Predator film. Definitely.
About a samurai era Predator film.
I think that would be great. I think that what Danny Trachtenberg did with Prey, that was my favorite film of last year. He did a great job with that. It was a great segue to exploring the different Predator techniques. I would love to see a film set in the Predator world with subtitles, the whole 9 yards. Like, tell me a story about Predators. I would love to see them fight samurais, go through all the different wars of history and show me Predators versus that. I'd like the way that the new film sort of retroactively downgraded the Predators at that time, so they had different weapons and things like that. I think it's a lot of fun to explore. I think it's a cool culture to explore in cinema.
Any more projects like Fanboy 13?
Not so much 13 Fanboy, but I'm attached to a project that I'm helping write right now. There's a couple of other ones I can't really say out loud just because of NDAs and things like that, but there are things like that, original horror films that we're working on. A couple of the ones I'm excited about, actually, that I can't talk about. I have an animated film that I'm working on right now called Ghost Chicken. It's about a vegan restaurant that's haunted by the ghost of the chicken, and the home is determined to figure out why. And so we're working on that with a company called Mako Animation out of Mexico. We're going to put together a campaign for that probably sometime next year. There's a few other scripts that I've been working on with Tom as well. There's one called EMF, which is about a ghost hunter that sort of goes off on his own to investigate some ghost things. It's something I want to film here in Massachusetts, actually, or I've not we're obviously around, but in New England, it would be nice to make something back home. What else do we have on that list? There's a few. I mean, we'll have short films coming out hopefully next year. Once Never Hike Alone 2 wraps up and we're able to finish the crowdfunding side of that, I'll be able to shift my focus back to original content, back to crowdfunding and try to raise some original content and shoot some stuff here in New England.
So you're going to shoot here?
Yeah, I'm in the process of coming back to Massachusetts. I've been in LA for 16, 17 years, and it's about time to come back. And there's a growing film community here, there's a growing industry here, so I want to get, sucked up into it, be able to do the work, be able to work on the bigger productions out here. I had the opportunity to work on a film called The Finest Kind, which was shot in New Bedford, Massachusetts last year. So to work on a feature-level production that's coming out on Paramount Plus in my backyard was sort of a dream come true, to be like, wow, I don't have to be across the country to do this anymore. I can do this right here, and it's a 10-minute drive from my house. So this is great. So I'd like to sort of repeat that process, and then in that process, create more opportunity for local filmmakers out here to work with us and the Wampsong Films team and bring that sort of quality and level of production value to Southern New England and see what we can do out here. Because we have plenty of beautiful locations and places to shoot and actors and talent. So it's just about sort of figuring out who's who down here and what we can make.
Will there be any more Friday movies after
The only thing we have in development is an animated short film called Ghosts in the Fog. It's something I wanted to do. In fact, 4 or 5 years ago, I was actually pitching an animated Friday the 13th series to Warner Brothers. And before Sean Cunningham went to his second round of appeals with Victor Miller, we were actively pitching this to Warner Brothers and got all the way. We were supposed to meet with HBO, but that meeting got canceled because the lawsuit kicked back. But we've always wanted to see Jason in animation. I think that there's a really big, I think if they took horror icons like Jason and Michael and Freddy and put them in an animated space and put them on a high-end streaming channel like an HBO Max or Netflix or something like that, I feel like they could make 6 or 8 episodes of these different characters, even if it's just focused on Michael or Freddy or Jason. So my pitch was Jason. That's how I originally wanted to continue the Never Hike Alone series. But when that fell through, I went back to crowdfunding and decided to make it all live action. But I am working on that. There are other stories I would like to tell, but they'll probably come out in short story form. I'll probably release them as books or scripts or things like that. They're just, it's a lot of time and effort and money to commit to making fan fiction, which has been a lot of fun. We got delayed because of the pandemic and all that stuff, but I'm really looking forward to getting the more original stuff next, I would say. But I've definitely been, out helping other fan filmmakers. So if there's anyone out there that ever, needs help with crowdfunding or they need to understand the rules of what it takes to make a fan film, I do have something you can email me at wompsoundfilms@gmail.com. I'll send you an email with a list of all the rules, some of the tips and tricks of doing crowdfunding, and usually I'm just an email away if somebody has a question for stuff like that.
Where do you find your inspiration when you're writing scripts or working on a film?
I mean, a lot of it's real life. I just find ways to work things in. Never Hike Alone was all about discovery and adventure. Never Hike in the Snow is about loss. And Never Hike Alone 2 is all about redemption. Redemption for multiple characters, getting answers. I find that I start to write and then find the pattern that I'm writing in. So a lot of the times, Never Hike Alone 1 is really based off of a film like 127 Hours of the Martian. Never Hike in the Snow is like an episode of True Detective. And so with Never Hike Alone 2, I started to realize that this was like a battle of 2 monsters, and it became a kaiju film. And so the structure of it really follows that of like a Godzilla movie about these 2 monsters that are working their way towards each other and then battle at the end of Act 1, battle at the end of Act 2, and then have to battle at the end of Act 3 for, to see who's actually going to win. So I really just kind of, follow the story in my head and then start to recognize what type of structure it's taking. And then I use those past structures as a way to figure out either what I'm missing in my story, or if I'm, or if I'm too far off base, if I'm off the timing of it, okay, I'm spending too much time in these scenes, I really need to get to this moment. It really helps as a measuring stick for me to understand where I'm at in my story. Because, there's only 5 stories in the world that you can really tell. And when you kind of balance it against the formulas of the stories you want to tell, you can kind of figure out where you are with it and go off of that. But really, it's just about personal experiences and, dream scenarios in my head. Never Hike Alone was, I was out doing a photo shoot, just shooting some empty cabins. And so I thought in the middle of that, what if Jason came after me? And that was the original premise of Never Hike Alone, and that story ended up working its way into Never Hike in the Snow, where Cortland, Mark's character, is just innocently taking photos of the camp and ends up accidentally taking a photo of Jason, and that causes him to be chased and killed. So there's things like that. It's like real life scenarios that can turn into horror scenarios, and I think that that's what really connects to the audience. Is something that they can relate to, an experience or any type of experience that they can see themselves within or have experienced in the past. All of a sudden, you go for a walk in the woods alone tonight, and you're going to be thinking, "Where's Jason around the corner?" So you try to insert horror into daily life that we run across to that seems mundane, and all of a sudden becomes something that we're scared of. Any other questions? No, thank you.